machine is. Understand how pervasive their reach into our lives is. Even if you don't watch the F channel, even if you don't watch all of the crazy cable news outside of that, you're still getting these messages. Because you know what? A lot of your local news organizations reported on this story. These people are so well organized because they're well funded, really well funded. And what gets me is you have this woman, this 20-year-old, who had no problem going before a school board and admitting to a porn addiction, which I don't know if she has or if she doesn't. But it's curious that she works for the company that would benefit from the demise of Scholastic Book Fairs. Now, understand, I would bet the people who were ultimately behind this want book fairs completely done away with altogether, especially if they can't control all of the content in those kids' eyes. But this, to me, again, another one of those moments where, surprise, surprise, they are creating this world of chaos and outrage. Because you know that people saw this woman who looked very convincing and said, "Oh, we can't have that with our children. Hey, they have Scholastic Book Fairs at my kid's school. We have to do something. There's porn in the Scholastic Book Fairs." And the reality is there's not. But the facts be damned. It's the narrative that's important. It's what you believe other than what they can prove. And I guess the question is are you surprised? And the answer is no. You shouldn't be surprised, because this is the kind of stuff that the right does masterfully. This is the kind of stuff that corporatists do masterfully. This is the divide and conquer to not only destroy this Scholastic Book Fair group, which, you know, again, they're the big players on the block. But this is about destroying public education as a whole. This is about getting people angry at public education. How dare you let those Scholastic Book Fairs in your school? How dare you promote reading? I don't want my children reading. I mean, I fear this is where we end up. Now you could go, Rick, you're just being a bit hyperbolic. This is an isolated incident. I'm not so sure. Because I look at these maniac moms for misery groups, these moms for liberty groups. There's a lot of people getting paid somewhere. There's a lot of people making money off of this. And there's a lot of billionaire money being funneled into these AstroTurf groups. There's a lot of money into this stuff, because what the billionaires understand is as long as we're continuing to fight over things, we're not fighting for good things. We're fighting over nonsense while they're robbing us blind. They understand. And I go back to something my grandfather said, and I'm not sure he really understood exactly how important that statement was, but he said, look, if a rich guy's going to take a buck out of his pocket to tell you you don't need something, you better spend two to get it, because they understand return on investment. They didn't get to be rich by being stupid with their money. And when a Jeffrey Yaz spends millions of dollars to go after school boards and public education, you know on the back end, there's a massive payoff. Power, control, ultimately our tax dollars. I want to hear your thoughts, though. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Are you surprised by the whole dog and pony show, by the bread and circus? And if you are, we should talk. Right back after this.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The phone lines are open. Give Rick a call at 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425. Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
It's remarkable to me. I read a book and someone kissed in the book and now I have a porn addiction. I got to tell you, I don't know. I don't know if I should say this. As a young kid, we found other people's actual porn, and don't have an addiction. So I gotta wonder. Yeah, gotta wonder. Let's go to the phones. Got Steve on line 1 from Chicago. Steve, how are you, man?
I'm fine, and you took the words right out of my mouth because I don't know what this woman's age is. I don't know.
20.
But okay, 20. Okay, that makes my point very well. Because if this woman were in her mid-50s or older, I'd say, okay, there's a air of plausibility, even though I think it's absurd. Because let's say you were coming of age in the 70s, the 80s, whatnot. Okay, if you were a young person, actual porn, was pretty hard to get a hold of. But for someone her age, if she's addicted to porn, it's because of actual porn. Because if you're that age, that means that you can stream it day or night on 6 different devices. So this idea that, oh, wow, I read something, that's what got me hooked on porn, that was available in some school fair, that managed to get by everybody else in terms of, being pornography and nobody else noticing it. It was that. It wasn't the plethora of everything that's available online for young people that might have gotten her there. But obviously, none of this is true. This is just, somebody, a paid actor. And, the old saying goes, you have the story and then people buy into it. And even if somebody calls you out, nobody pays attention to the retraction. And though, this woman would be called out, a lot of people will just never hear about it and just buy into this and then repeat it at cocktail parties and at the bar and at the water cooler as if it's true. And that's exactly what happens in society. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember, in the wake of the invasion of Kuwait and the testimony that was offered up to the international community about children being
bayoneted
and snatched out of incubators, and so the Iraqis could take the equipment and repatriate it to Iraq. Well, turns out that it was a government official's daughter, not somebody who was working in the healthcare industry, not a nurse or a doctor.
No, she was a candy striper.
Testimony.
She was a candy striper.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the cover. She was a teenage girl who was a candy striper. Turns out she was nowhere near Kuwait during that time.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, you get people, and the fact is that back then you actually had to do some work to try and uncover who people are. I mean, today, if there's somebody in the Western world who doesn't have a social media profile or doesn't, exist in that realm, I mean, that's rare. So if you're 20 years old and you claim X, Y, Z, yeah, somebody can uncover it pretty quickly, as you've managed to do, and others. So, yeah, I mean, again, people are willing to just buy into whatever their media outlet tells them is true because that they actually have faith in it. If you're an avid Fox viewer, you believe to your core that Fox is actual news. Even in the evening, the craziness that is the evening nonsense on Fox, that somehow is akin to what you see on ABC in terms of the nightly news. And the reality is that these people know that a lot of their viewership comes from individuals who don't access other information. They don't seek out multiple sources. They don't do any fact checking. So you can tell them anything you want, and a percentage of them will just go with it, and they will vote that way because of it. They'll regurgitate it to their friends. And I mean, that's just the reality of the world in which we live. We live in these echo chambers, and don't get me wrong, there are plenty of us on the left who live in our share of echo chambers as well, who regurgitate some nonsense. But it's nothing akin to what you see on the right. And unfortunately, we've got to get people to listen. And I'm glad that you have people such as Hunter Biden and others who are saying, you know what? Okay, I'm going to call their bluff. This nonsense that they're advocating, we all know it's nonsense. We all know it's BS. But a significant number of the voting populace believes it. Okay, fine. Let's have the damn hearings. Let's talk about what you're claiming, and let's see the evidence.
Yep.
And let's let the American people see it. Wait, no, okay, well, we want to do that? Well, no, actually, we don't really want to do it in public. Oh, I wonder why.
I wonder why. Good stuff, Steve. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Take care.
I got an email from Barbara who says, I read Lady Chatterley's Lover in high school. I'm not addicted to porn. No, again, but Lady Chatterley's Lover was written in 1928. Again, this is on the ban list, though. Understand, they want to ban that, too. So maybe you should read it twice. There you go. Let's go to Alice on line 2. I'm sure Alice has got something on the Scholastic book front. Alice, how are you?
I am annoyed. The woman is a liar. When I graduated from high school in 1978, and I agree with Carol, we had the Scholastic books, and I bought them. I still have them. There wasn't any porn, and I started buying books when I was 8 years old. And my mother, for being a diehard Baptist, and my uncle who brainwashed her, who was a frickin' Billy Graham convert, she never monitored my books. And so let me tell you what, I am about sick and tired and fed up with these right-wingers that we got to read what they say, raise our kids their way. Our kids can only read what they want to read. And, you know, we just have to live our whole life. And honest to God, I wish one of these plagues from Egypt would come down and wipe out the whole mess of them. Because they're about on my last nerve.
Okay, Alice, I think we've gone too far here. I appreciate
Seriously.
it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. No, look, you know, the reality is you know what this was about. This was about, you know, trying to, one, push the narrative that there are all these banned books and get people all lathered up and angry. And here's the great thing. The majority of people look at their librarians, look at their school librarians in a very positive light. Even with all of the attacks by the right-wing money machine, even with all of these made-up narratives, people are still looking to their school librarians as someone with a very positive eye. That's a good thing. But understand, these attacks, they're not going to stop. These people will not stop because they're, like I said, well-funded. There's a lot in this for them. Outside of the power and control, it's a cash motive. So again, I don't expect it to stop anytime soon. But yeah, Lady Chatterley, I didn't read it, but I think every girl I knew in high school did, and I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. No, I wish they had a porn addiction back then, but no such thing. Hey, Elon Musk back in the news. You may have seen that he's been pushing the Pizzagate thing again. Wildly debunked, in fact, in every way, shape, and form debunked. But hey, again, you know, it's that narrative, sticking to the message. We believe. Evidently, he's been pushing it. So in response to people going, you're pushing debunked conspiracies, Elon, there are a number of businesses, the Washington Post being one of them, who are saying, well, we're going to put a pause on our advertising on X, or what formerly known as Twitter. And I'm in this spot where I go, I got to tell you, I am so tired of these companies going, we're going to pause our advertising on this. No, you just leave. You know, it's like when Twitter said, you know, the blue check mark, you're going to have to pay for it. We believe in free speech, but you're going to have to pay for the blue check mark. And, you know, we had one, you know, for years as part of the process that you had to go through to get the check mark. And then to keep it, you had to adhere to a certain set of guidelines and values and all this stuff. And we did that. As soon as Musk came in, did away with that. And I said, I am never paying for this. And our impressions went from, you know, something like, you know, 60 million a year down to, you know, I think like a million and a half. And I said, look, I'm never going back. I am never going to give Elon Musk, I'm never going to give a billionaire money. I'm just not going to do it. And these corporations who are trying to be brave, they're trying to pretend like they're standing up to him. They do this big announcement, hey, we're going to put a pause on until next week. And it's just ridiculous. Now, Elon Musk was asked about these businesses doing this. And of course, Musk being Musk, and the attitude that he thinks people want to hear, basically just said, go blank yourself. And fairly emphatically. And he said, look, if someone's going to try and blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go blank yourself. And went on to this whole thing of, people are going to see who brings this company down. And I'm going, you bought it for $44 billion. It's now worth about $5 billion. You've done that on your own. And oh, by the way, the idea of promoting Pizzagate again, really? That there's a child porn ring in the basement of a pizza parlor in D.C. that doesn't have a basement? Think of a better one, because there are better conspiracies out there. There are better ones to grab hold of. You've got a lot of money. You can have someone dream something up. Stick with that. But they're saying that these boycotts, if you will, like the Times, for instance, could cost him about $75 million in revenue by the end of the year. And good. Again, I still believe he bought Twitter solely to destroy it. And hey, maybe he can borrow that mission accomplished banner that George Bush used to use, because he's doing a heck of a job. Doing a heck of a job, Brownie. Quick break, right back. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1937. That was the day the National Labor Relations Board began hearings on an unfair labor practice brought by the International Mine, Mill, and Smelters. Mine Mill had been fighting the union-busting tactics at Eagle Pitcher Lead Company. The union had been organizing lead and zinc miners in the tri-state area of Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. During the Great Depression, they built the union by emphasizing safer working conditions, stressing the hazards of silicosis and tuberculosis. In their book, Deadly Dust, Silicosis and the Politics of Occupational Disease, Gerald Markowitz and David Rosmer note that one of Mine Mill's demands included the elimination of the company clinic. They argued it was used to target and fire diseased workers rather than provide a safe work environment. Mine Mill also organized in other area industries to counteract the near total power of mine owners in the region. When the union called a strike at area mines in May 1935, the area's largest producer, Eagle Pitcher Lead, moved quickly to force a lockout and establish a company union. During the hearings, the union was limited in its ability to raise health and safety issues. They did win reinstatement and back pay for workers fired during the strike, but the case brought national attention to silicosis in the tri-state area. In a letter to Francis Perkins the following year, the head of the Cherokee County Central Labor Body hoped to secure legislation to compel the companies to install ventilation systems and safety devices. He noted the average life of a miner was 7 to 10 years, with many dying in 2 or 3 years. But sadly, a federal standard on silica was still decades away. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
In one of their satirical songs, the Austin Lounge Lizards lampooned the ridiculous bigotry of some Christian factions, singing, "Jesus loves me, but he can't stand you." That could be the bellicose anthem of a quasi-religious Republican front group with a very sweet-sounding name, Moms for Liberty. Far from sweet, however, these moms are funded by rich Republicans to be ground troops in the party's culture wars. Essentially, an anti-liberty campaign against people, books, teachers, and ideas they don't like. In the last few years, squads of these moms have turned into political hate groups, persecuting small-town school board members by baselessly accusing them of conspiring to indoctrinate children with pornography, hatred of white people, and liberal thinking. Having stirred up dust devils of division and fear, the momsters ran candidates in local board elections this fall, hoping to take over public schools. But they miscalculated on an essential political reality. Most Americans are not right-wingers, bigots, or Christian nationalists. The group had counted on surprising voters in what are usually low-visibility, low-turnout races. but the extremists were the ones surprised by an aggressive voter pushback against their scheme. Indeed, various surveys show that the GOP's mom wing lost about 80% of its races across the country, even in major swing states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. For example, in the very conservative school district of Penn Ridge, Pennsylvania, 5 far-right Republican incumbents were up for re-election. All 5 were swept out, turning the Penn Ridge School Board blue for the first time in years. This is Jim Hightower saying, to help push back against right-wing politicizers of your school district, contact campaignsharedfuture.org.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So my congressman, Scott Pardon Me Perry, chair of the House Freedom Caucus, evidently he has come out and said that he's in favor of supporting a $1.59 trillion top-line spending limit. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the level that was agreed to by former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And Joe Biden. So it seems that the rebellion, the revolution, whatever went on in the House for the last couple of weeks that ousted McCarthy and caused a bunch of chaos and made the Republicans look, as ununified as possible, turns out, we're going to surrender anyway. Oh, the fun. Here to share some thoughts on that and all of the crazy fun and wonderful things going on in our House of Representatives. I've asked our good friend Joe Walsh to come talk with us. Joe's a former congressman from Illinois, 2020 presidential candidate, and host of the fabulous White Flag with Joe Walsh podcast. You get that wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
Rick Smith, I love you, brother.
I appreciate that. What do you make of this with Scott Pardon Me Perry, hopefully soon to be my former congressman, but him saying, we'll take what they got before.
Democrats will take over the House in January of 2025, Rick, and to a large degree because of what Matt Gaetz did. You think about the last 3 to 4 months, they got rid of McCarthy. They brought in a new speaker after a long time who pretty much is advancing everything McCarthy advanced. It was a personal vendetta by Matt Gaetz.
Yep.
Now, McCarthy gave him that gun with which to use. Matt Gaetz used it, and it really messed up the House Republicans.
And good. But now you've got this new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who I am not thrilled with. I actually fear him much more than McCarthy or virtually anybody else because he seems like a reasonable guy. He seems like a pleasant guy. But when you dig down, I fear theocrat. I fear lots of that stuff. But he's come out keeping to the Republican line that the impeachments of Donald Trump were brazenly political and meritless. But what they're doing for Joe Biden is just the opposite because, and this is the laughable part, the Republican Party stands for the rule of law, Joe. Stands on the rule of law.
So I said this today, Rick. Mike Johnson, the new speaker, doesn't miss an opportunity to tell the world what a Christian he is, that he is a Christian. When Mike Johnson said that today about Donald Trump was impeached unfairly and we're only going after Biden for the facts and the Republican Party is the party of the rule of law, Rick Smith, I'm telling you, Mike Johnson knew he wasn't telling the truth. He knew he was lying.
Isn't there a thou shall not in there somewhere?
I know you and I are having fun with this, but I'm a Christian guy. I don't say that much, but he knew he was lying, and yet he's a faithful Christian. I don't know how you reconcile that.
Is it possible that he just truly believes it to his, he holds it sincerely? So therefore, no. It's not a thou shall not.
Some do. Some of the Republicans do believe that crap, Rick. I know people near Mike Johnson. He doesn't. He's saying it for Trump's benefit.
Yeah.
He does not believe it.
Now, I want them to impeach Biden. I want them to go down this path. And look, I look at former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who said, this is a bad idea. I probably shouldn't do this because it's going to go nowhere in the Senate and it's going to be a political disaster. And that's exactly what I think it should be. I love the fact that Hunter Biden has come out and said, look, I'll be more than happy to come testify in an open hearing.
Hey, you and I talked about this before Republicans took over. They promised that if we put them in power, it would be 2 years of investigations, impeachment, and chaos. They've delivered. Now, the crazy thing is, Kevin McCarthy was going to give them impeachment. He just said, don't shut down the government. Let's take care of that business. We'll throw the red meat impeachment at everybody at their base. Matt Gaetz really screwed that up.
Yeah.
Republicans really hurt themselves this fall big time.
No, look, if they played their cards right, they could have really done some damage to Biden. But, the more that they try and, like yesterday, for instance, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because I remember them saying, we're going to be transparent and, we're going to bring them in and we're going to basically flog these people in open court. And then to have the entire right-wing media structure go, I can't believe that he wants to do this and it should be behind closed doors. We don't want to see any of that. I mean, it was really crazy to me on how the right wing was all on the same message of promoting a closed door hearing. And I'm going, I thought media people wanted things out in public. I thought you wanted that so you could take the video and use it however the heck you wanted. What happened?
He called their bluff, man.
Yes.
Hey, brother, Hunter Biden called their bluff. I'm no fan of Hunter Biden.
No, I don't have any opinion of him.
Well, I do.
I don't know the man. If he's done some wrong things, he should be held accountable. There's no question about that. But I don't know the man to say one thing or another.
No, but you and I know enough that, like Jared Kushner and plenty of other people, all Hunter Biden has done is use the Biden name to enrich himself, especially from foreign sources. That's BS. It's wrong. But Hunter Biden's not the president of the United States.
Right.
They don't have the goods on Joe Biden. And Hunter Biden yesterday saying, okay, I'll come. I'll testify under oath in public, sunshine, all of it. They panicked. He called their bluff. They don't have the goods on Joe Biden, so they can't put Hunter Biden in public.
And I find it interesting that every once in a while you'll see like Maria Bartiromo ask a question and a congresswoman will have to go, well, right now, no. We don't really have anything, but if we go on this fishing expedition, we might find something.
Oh my God, Rick! I was thinking about her today, Marie Bartiromo. 8, 9, 10 years ago, when I was in Congress, I'd go on her show a lot, and we'd talk about tax policy and and economic policy and healthcare policy. Look at how she, like so many on the right, in the media, have just fallen down this Trump conspiracy rabbit hole. She is a Looney Tune now. I mean, a Looney Tune.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the water or if it's in the paycheck.
It's in the paycheck.
Okay.
If you don't do that, you end up like me, and you're no longer on Fox News. It's in the paycheck.
Yeah, it's in the paycheck. You brought up healthcare, and I'm sure you've noticed. Trump went on a 24-hour whatever that was on Truth Social, and one of those things was doubling down on we're going to repeal Obamacare. And again, you've got to throw that out, the red meat out to the base, and I get this. It's about lathering them up. But the fact that he's going to claim that he has a much better healthcare solution, you had 4 years, buddy.
That ship sailed. He doesn't understand healthcare policy. That's what's funny, Rick. That red meat is no longer even red meat for the Republican Party base. I mean, I've got real problems still with Obamacare. Our healthcare policy in this country is all mucked up, but the Republican Party base is no longer fired up about repealing Obamacare. That came out of left field, made no sense.
Yeah, but look, he's in trouble. It's like I say all the time. A drowning man is gonna grab an anchor if you throw it to him.
Wait. What do you mean he's in trouble? He's going to be the nominee.
Oh no, he's going to be no question. He's going to be the nominee. But I don't know if you've been noticing all the things that are I don't know if you've noticed his calendar is very full. and the possibilities of him, losing lots of money and potentially, getting an orange jumpsuit, I got to think that weighs on the guy.
I don't, because hey, Rick, he's not like you and me. He's got a magic, his kryptonite, his secret sauce is he has no shame. None of this weighs on him. I mean it. None of it does. He doesn't care. He doesn't believe he's done wrong. He's not a normal human being in that regard. And all of his legal issues are really his campaign.
Yeah.
And it's bonding people to him.
I still think it's doing so, because I look at these rants that he goes on. These are the rants of an unhinged person, I think. But here's the thing. He vowed. What was it? 11 o'clock at night. He said the government should come down on MSNBC, make them pay. And then he said when he becomes president, if he becomes president, he's going to investigate Comcast. Go after Comcast.
Rick, wasn't he an unhinged SOB 4 years ago?
Truth. Way
before all of this legal crap.
Yeah.
It's now, to your point though, he's 78 years old, and he's kind of losing his marbles a little bit.
No, I've been watching some of the speeches, and he does. He's showing the age. So
he's sloppy.
That brings us to the election then. I mean, next year, I have this great fear that that Trump is elected in 2024. I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. But I just have this great fear that, with all of the division that you're seeing coming out of the Middle East, all of the stuff, I got fears.
You should.
I got fears.
And God love you. And I wish everybody left of center across the spectrum, I wish they were afraid. And I wish they understood how easily he could be reelected. I think right now, Rick, he's better than a 50-50 chance of being reelected. I don't think the Democrats understand that. On top of this, and you and I may disagree on the Middle East, I'm hugely pro-Israel. I love the fact that Biden's been standing by Israel. This issue is hurting him with his Democratic coalition.
Oh, it's killing him.
And I'm telling you, you know that better than I do. This is a issue that divides his coalition. That's never good.
No, it's not good. And I want to know who's funding this whole pro-Palestine movement. Look, I think the things that are going on there are horrible on all sides of the equation. But the a-hole in this equation is Hamas, and I don't know why we're not looking at them. Look, I don't want Palestinian children killed. I don't want Israeli children killed. But when you've got a group saying, until the end of time, we're going to continue this, I don't know how you can support that in any way, shape, or form.
So most Americans are pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian people, anti-Hamas. The problem is, when you look at most Democrats, they're pro-Palestinian people, they're indifferent or antagonistic toward Israel, and they don't have the guts to call out Hamas. And we see this in these protests all over the country, Rick. This is hurting Biden.
No, it is, absolutely. And I thought it was disgraceful. And I said it yesterday because I've stayed away from this issue for the most part. But I thought it was absolutely disgraceful that they – I'm sure you know where I'm going.
I know what you're going to say. Say it.
The fact that they protested at Rosalind Carter's funeral. I find the fact that Westboro Baptist Church and those cretins were trending. And I don't even think they were there. But that to me was it's pale too far, especially the Carters, who have always been supportive. That it just shows an ignorance.
Rick, tonight they're protesting and getting violent and attacking New York City cops at the damn Christmas tree lighting in Rockefeller Plaza. I mean, they are not winning hearts and minds. And this is not making Democrats look good.
So here's the thing, and I'm glad you said that, because this is where there's a part of me that goes, when the extreme right and the extreme left are to their, they do eventually come together. I want to know who's funding this. That's what I keep coming back to. And for what aims? How did this explode like this? Because this doesn't just happen organically. I mean, there's got to be some organizing that went behind this and some moneyed interests.
I actually hadn't thought of that, Rick. Maybe, but to counter that, I'll say October 7th changed everything. It's the closest I've seen to 9/11. It's consumed our news. It's consumed me. I think a lot of this is organic on both sides. It was a really big thing, but I hadn't thought about who's behind it financially.
Yeah, again, I see these groups that this stuff pop up. I immediately go to where's the money coming from. Follow again, to whose benefit and follow the money.
Look, one other point, Rick. Nobody hits my former party harder than I do. It's become an authoritarian embracing cult. But wake up, the Democrats have a problem. On their far left, there is huge anti-Semitism on their far left, and there is huge hatred toward Israel. This is not where most Americans are. This is going to, again, hurt Democratic candidates next year.
Now, again, this is why I fear that Trump will be reelected, and all of the things that I think Biden has done well, all of the things on the labor front, all of the things on the investments, I fear Trump just wipes all that stuff out, and we end up in a worse off space. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show here with the former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh, host of the White Flag with Joe Walsh podcast. You can find that wherever you find your favorite podcasts. One of my favorites out there. I got to go back to the Trump campaign. Because I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy's guy just left the campaign with him and headed over to Trump. You now see the Home Depot billionaire saying that he's likely to fund Trump. It seems like, any of the resistance that you may have been a part of, not working.
Gone. And to me, Rick, this has been the biggest non-story of the past year and a half. This has never been a race. So many people have wanted to make the Republican race for the nomination a race, and it's not. And you and I talked about at the beginning, nobody who got into this race really was ever trying to beat Trump. They were always just trying to be the alternative in case Trump had a heart attack or ended up in jail. It's never been a race. He owns the party.
Here's the thing. You said there a second ago, if he ends up in jail, that they were running. This Home Depot billionaire, so it doesn't matter if he gets convicted. It doesn't matter if he's convicted of any crimes, still going to fund him.
Well, I agree with that. If Trump's convicted, he's still the man. But Rick, and this won't happen before the election, if he's put behind bars, then I think only that might impact him. But no, a conviction won't hurt him because, Rick, he'll just appeal it anyways.
Yeah. No, he's not. Anybody who thinks he's going to be in pinstripes and be a guest of the state by election time.
No.
I got bridges. I got bridges.
And Rick, and again, I'll tell you, and I'm so glad you said that you're afraid. You've got a fear that he's going to get reelected. Damn it, I don't think most Democrats and people in the middle get that yet. Biden is hugely unpopular. I don't think it's fair. I think a lot of it, Rick, is his fault because he can no longer use the bully pulpit and communicate.
No, he can't deliver the punchline. No, and I've said that. I've said that for a very long time. He can't use the punchline. He can't deliver the line, and that's. I love the policies. I love the guy. Just can't deliver the punchline. But here you talked about fear, and I swear I want to wrap this up. Look, the fact that Trump is running on a campaign of retribution, on a campaign of payback, talking about investigating Comcast because he doesn't like what MSNBC says. As someone who sits in a chair like I do and does the work that you do, this to me is troublesome. That you and I, well, we could be roomies in a cell together.
He's going to go after his enemies. He's going to use the government to go after his enemies. That is anathema to America. But Rick, the sad thing is one of our two major political parties has become an authoritarian embracing cult.
Yeah.
They want this. That's the scarier thing. We've only got two parties. One of our parties has given up on democracy. They want a freaking dictator to be president.
And not even a benevolent one. But, Joe, I appreciate the time. As always, great stuff. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Thanks so much, man.
I love you, Rick Smith. I love you.
All right. Joe Walsh, host of the White Flag with Joe Walsh podcast. Make sure you check that out. Gonna take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 2012. That was the day that more than 100 fast food workers in New York City walked off the job. They held a one-day strike for better wages and the right to form a union. It was the biggest fast food workers' strike up until that time. The movement soon grew to be much, much bigger. Their demand was simple and memorable: a $15 an hour minimum wage. The slogan became the Fight for 15 and a union. The campaign found an ally in SEIU, the Service Employees International Union. By August of 2013, the movement held a national strike against low pay day of action. Fast food workers and their supporters held demonstrations in 60 cities. Today, the movement has spread to 300 cities and beyond the United States. While protesters have gathered at many fast food chains, McDonald's has become a focus of the campaign. Protesters have held annual one-day demonstrations at McDonald's headquarters just outside of Chicago. The campaign has seen victories. Both New York and California have passed a $15 an hour minimum wage law. So has the city of Seattle. Although it's a national and even international movement, it is also a grassroots effort. In each city, different local groups are involved. In Kansas City, fast food women workers have formed the Fannie Lou Hamer Women's Committee. They named their group after the civil rights champion. They take inspiration from her famous quote that she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. For many in the Fight for 15 movement, this sums up their involvement. It is a movement for the respect and dignity of workers and the right to earn a living wage. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
You know, I agree with Joe Walsh. And I said this from the beginning, why we never paid any attention to the Republican debates, because they were never gonna, you're not gonna dethrone Trump, and I didn't think it was possible, and I don't think I wanted it. I think that we as a country, the only way we're going to get through this is if he's defeated soundly at the ballot box. But here again, the sad reality is things aren't looking great. And you've got a lot of groups and a lot of moneyed interests now falling into line. And I look at this Home Depot co-founder, Republican mega donor Bernie Marcus, who said, "Look, I'm gonna give Trump money. Yeah, even if he's convicted, because he says that Trump's a fixer, and it would be beneficial to the U.S. economy." When he says U.S. economy, he means him. It'd be beneficial to him, like the tax bill. And this comes back to where we are as a country. The moneyed interests, they're weighing in. And they're weighing in on, we don't want Biden. The reason Biden's not all that popular is because people don't know what he's done. And Joe's right, he has not, and the administration hasn't. They haven't even sent surrogates out enough. That's actually not right. They have sent surrogates out. And do you know what kind of coverage they get? Do you know what kind of platform that they have? They get a couple minutes on the evening news. They get a couple minutes here or there. There's nothing like the F channel. There's nothing like the right-wing echo chamber on the left. There's not. There is no platform to build from, to get your message out. You know, I was having this conversation with a friend today about, Democrats are terrible at messaging. No, they're not terrible at messaging. They've got a good message. We're going to make workers' lives better. We're going to pursue policies, actual policies, that are going to do good things, that are going to invest in our country, that are going to be smart and targeted, and they're going to lift people up. Problem is they don't have a microphone, a megaphone. They don't have the platform to say, hey, look at what we're doing. Because they never built it. The left never invested in it. The right, really smart, and invested in enormous platforms that their people get to come and spew nonsense and lies and narrative constantly. Focus group tested, think tank approved. This is what they do, and they do it masterfully, better than anyone. Reality, Republicans shouldn't even be a party at this moment. They're that bad. Their policies have been that horribly destructive for working people. And yet, somehow, through decades of repetition, through decades of time and repetition, what's happened? It's almost like Stockholm Syndrome for working people. Because now you're buying it. It's scary stuff. Gonna take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
We must reverse course.
UN Secretary General warns world is far off track to avoid catastrophic warming. Annual UN climate conference COP28 gets underway in oil-rich Dubai. Plus, International Energy Agency warns fossil fuel industry faces a reckoning.
All of those reckonings and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
We're simply inflating the lifeboats while breaking the horse.
Breaking the horse?
Oars. He was talking about oars. Lifeboat, oars.
Well, at least we're not breaking the horse. This is your